Good evening, everybody. This is Robin with another edition of Horror Pop After Midnight. And my guest tonight he's the original Ghostface. He's the stuntman, Lee Waddell. How's it going, Lee?
Great, man. Thanks for having me on for this evening. I'm looking forward to chatting with you and going down a few rabbit holes and telling a few stories, and we'll see where all this goes.
Yeah, let's do that. What got you into stunt work? What lured you into the one of the most dangerous professions?
I was just, I came out of high school, went to junior college, and I've always liked film. And it was at that point in time, it was like either let's go make movies and stunts because of the adrenaline, or let's go in the military because of the adrenaline. Movies paid better, and so I went down the stunt road.
Really? So when you got your first stunt job, what was going through your head at the time when you were preparing for a certain stunt?
Well, I mean, depending on what the stunt is, if you get into big stunts, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things going on. And, you just take your time and prep it right and you rehearse it and, rehearse it a couple of times and adjust things. And, these little ones where it's like, okay, jump out the window and, hit the ground and roll. You don't have to rehearse those. You just do it. You kind of know what you're doing. But, those little ones get a hold of you sometimes. It's those little simple things that have a tendency to bite you.
What was the most dangerous stunt performance you've done that was really dangerous and almost could have killed you?
Probably anytime I was doing fire, and I did a lot of firework. Because you go from hero to zero real quick. I mean, you go from maintaining everything to hot to like I got to get put out now. So fire is very ferocious and it doesn't give an inch. And yeah, if something's going to get a hold of you, it's going to be fire.
That's pretty good. Let's talk about you working with Wes Craven. You did you worked a lot of projects with Wes. How'd you get involved with Wes Craven?
So Wes is second unit director and stunt coordinator, a guy by the name of Tony Caesar. He and I were friends, and he took me in. He was one of my mentors when I first got into the film industry. And so he took me under his wing, and then he introduced me to Wes. And I think my first show with Wes was Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one. And then I did about every Wes show all the way up through Scream 2. So there might have been a couple in there that I didn't participate in, but I had quite a run with Wes and Tony during that time.
How'd you become Ghostface? Did Tony get you into being Ghostface in the first two films?
Yeah, absolutely. I had known Wes, and so that was, when Tony brought me up to Wes, and Wes, he goes, absolutely. So Tony brought me in, Wes signed off on it, and the rest is movie history. That's
pretty good. You did one of the most historic kill scenes in horror film, history. You got to kill Drew Barrymore, which was iconic. So when you worked with Drew, did you guys, prepare certain stuff to make that scene just right?
No, not necessarily. I mean, Drew's a pro, and she's a fun personality and a fun person. I had worked with her previous to this on a couple other films. That's probably one of the reasons I got chosen to do this opening scene with her. And, Wes, I don't think Drew actually saw full wardrobe until we shot it that night. So he kept her in the darkness to keep that terror going on. And then her and I have had good synergy in the past. So working with her was really easy. And she's a bundle of joy and high energy and super fun personality and just absolute pro at what she does. So working with Drew was easy and fun and delight.
Yeah, so when you played Ghostface, did Wes Craven want you to play it a certain way, or did he have a certain direction for you to be the killer?
He did. We'd done some other stuff, and then we were leading up to actually, scene one, take one, and sat down with him, and Tony Caesar was there. We sat down in the kitchen of the house that we were filming in. And I said, hey, so tell me about this. And I'm already in wardrobe. I hadn't put the mask on yet. I'm like, tell me about this character. What is Ghostface? What is this thing? And, and he kind of gave me the background on it and a little bit of hype on it. He goes, and his quote was that really motivated me to grab the character and to give it some life is he goes, Ghostface moves like a phantom. And that rang true with me because I, grew up on black and white horror, like the Phantom of the Opera, the original and the remakes, and phantoms move a certain way in my mind, so I brought that to the character, and we had a good run of it. And then, so that's how that was my conversation with Wes and Tony directly from that night, first night of shooting. That was his direction. He moves like a phantom, and you'll see that like in the first couple of scenes, like when I'm zipping in and out of the house, cutting across camera. Very swift, very direct, very fast, and then and that's how I played it. My interpretation of the character.
Yeah, I was hearing stories about the first Scream film. Did that almost get like shut down?
Yeah, it did. Production Wes was getting squeezed from the studio, from production, and the town council hated us. We almost got shut down. We almost took our locations away. There was a lot of factors going against that film, especially for the first couple of weeks were just horrendous on Wes.
That's horrible. And then another actor you had fun, you got to kill. That had to have been fun. You got to kill Henry Winkler, the Fonz, man. What was that like, killing Henry?
And that was the only time in my career I ever fanboyed out, man. I geeked out on him. I'm sitting there across from the Fonz. I grew up with it, right? So, Happy Days was, 10, 11, 12 seasons? Huge, right? A lot of America grew up on Fonzie, as myself. And so, so got a chance to work with him, and I was just like standing across from him. I think we did 2 takes or 3 takes, and it was my fault because I didn't want to, and Henry's not a very big guy, and usually when stunt guys fight with those stunt guys, we can make it physical, bring some energy to it, and all this other good stuff. And I'm like, I'm about to stab Fonz, and I didn't want to hurt him quite literally. I didn't want to get on him, and he got on me and gave me some aggression and got me hyped. And so finally on that third take, I finally gave him what he needed to activize. It was a little good, but yeah, I geeked out on him. It was pretty funny.
Hey, did he give you a?
No, he didn't. He was. He didn't do that. But in the film, you'll see in that principal's office before I stab him, there's his jacket, his leather jacket from Happy Days is in the closet, in the wardrobe closet.
Really? I did not know that. I'll have to go back and watch that. I didn't know that. That's iconic. The leather jacket. Nice.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of movie trivia for you, and it's in there. So when there's a scene where he goes in and opens up like the wardrobe, and it's shot from the reverse, and when you see it from the reverse angle, you can see his leather jacket hanging in there.
Oh, that is sweet. You've been doing a lot of conventions too. What got you into doing the horror conventions, and what was your experience like doing your very first horror convention? What was going through your mind?
Well, the conventions are great. I love being in contact with the fans, right? And because the fans, as I call them, the Scream Nation, are rabid horror fans, just like me. I love horror. I grew up on horror, right? And Scream Nation they're just crazy about Scream, and how can you not be? It's 6 films deep now, right? 7's on the way.
Yep.
It's got a good run going. It's a lot of fun. I love being part of the franchise, and I love representing the beginning of the franchise and kind of carrying the torch for Wes and what he did, and bringing characters and letting me do what I did and bring that character to life. And so 25th anniversary, which was only a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, let's call it. Some guys, Tony Caesar, right, Wes's old stunt coordinator, second-year director, he had been doing some in the past, and I got approached. Somebody tracked me down and said, hey, you want to 25th anniversary, you want to go do these cons? And I'm like, no, not really. I'm an old school stunt guy. I didn't like do photographs or autographs or any of that stuff with the people I doubled throughout my career. I just never did that. That was not my cut, so to speak, right? I'm a little old-fashioned, old school. And so I reached out to Tony Caesar, and I go, hey, what's up with this whole autograph thing and da-da-da-da? He goes, goes, oh, it's a lot of fun. You get to make a lot of fans and talk movies. And he goes, why don't you come on out and try it? So my agent, Sean Clark, who's the mega agent, right? He does everybody, so to speak. He's huge in the industry, and I was very fortunate to get in with him. And he does a place called Convention All-Stars. And so he lined me up on my first con a couple years back, and he goes, well, we could put you in there with, Jamie Kenny was there, and Skeet was there, and Matthew was there, and I think Nev was there. And, I hadn't seen any of those guys or girls in 27 years or 25 years at that point. I'm like, no, that might just be too much. I might not like this, so how about you stick me in the corner over here, put me over here by Tony, I'm comfortable, just let me check it out, right? And it was really super positive experience. Love talking with the fans and having, interchange of ideas and thoughts. And just like you and I are having this conversation, and I got to do that, 100 times, 300 times or whatever over the weekend. And it was just such a great time. I'm like, man, I get it now. It was the whole thing about cons for me and doing all that stuff is really the fans. It doesn't really have to do that much with the money or anything like that. It's really just being connected to the horror community and much less directly to Scream Nation. I love being involved with this. Look at my wall. It's not like I'm not a collector. And so, it's really cool to be a part of that whole crazy family, so to speak.
All right, I got a question for you. Since you've been in, some horror films, you're a big horror fan. What's one thing that scares Lee? Do you have anything that scares you?
So, like, my first time I didn't like something on film horror-wise was those stupid flying monkeys, Wizard of Oz. Hated those things. Still do. Hate that scene. So, yeah, the flying monkeys screwed with me. I didn't like that. Horror is so fun for me, though, because me and my buddies would go after high school or blow off school and go get a deck of VHS and just watch B horror. And the more B minus C horror it was, the more cheesy the effects, the more we loved it. So, I grew up in, I cut my teeth from like late 70s all the way through the 80s on horror, which was a really fun horror time, right? For what was being produced and put out there. Everything was practical, so a lot of fun. So not much bothers me horror-wise or gore-wise. Jump scares are still fun only because it's a startle reflex. I'll be on Instagram and do a stupid spider jump reflex. Yeah, it gets me every time. I'm an idiot. So things like that will still get me, but it takes a lot to get me wound up horror-wise. I enjoy the genre. I like watching it, but you got to remember also when you make movies in that genre, which I did a lot of horror in my career, which I was totally blessed to do. When you make movies, for a living, it takes the magic out of them. And it takes a really good piece of film work for me to suspend my technical mind and just enjoy a movie. Right? And even when I get a really good piece of film in front of me, I'll still catch myself going, oh man, that was a good camera move, or nice lighting, or nice cinematography, right? I still look at things technically. Right? It takes a lot for me to shut my technical movie making brain off and just enjoy a movie for movie's sake. Even on Scream 6, right? You saw Scream 6?
Yes, I did.
Right? There's a couple of really, really great scenes in there, and I remember sitting there watching. I'm like, man, Max came across that couch really cool. Max was, Ghostface in number 6, and the stunt guy. And I'm like, God, he looked good doing that, right? Because he kind of went old school, and I'm not taking credit for anything that talented guy does. He's a force and a half, but the brothers directors got with him, and they put the edge back in Ghostface. So there's like when I was watching that movie, I'm like, oh, that was a really cool scene. Or like, I liked how he moved, and that's just how I'm geared. I don't know how many TV shows and movies I made in my career, but it's really hard for me to enjoy a movie just to watch a movie.
Yeah, you also did some work on Con Air. What was that like to be on the set? Were you near like Nick Cage?
So on Con Air, I was doubling Malkovich. I doubled him on a couple of shows, and and I'd met Nick a couple of times in the past, and he's a great guy. He's a cool dude. Con Air was big movie, big stunts, big things. I was off in the second unit a lot doing the aerial unit. playing in the back of airplanes and stuff. So I enjoyed that experience very, very much. Big movies with big budgets and time to prep and do big stunts is always fun.
I think so too. And another thing we have in common too, we both are fans of the original Creature from Black Lagoon, Universal Monsters. So what got you to fall in love with the Creature from Black Lagoon?
I don't know. I remember growing up watching black and white Universal horror with my dad, right? So there's the connection right there. And I think that it was. I think it was because it was a departure in the environment. Because black and white horror had nothing to do with black and white or color. But Creature of the Black Lagoon was the first time they went in water, right?
Yeah.
They might have water elements, but that was his domain. I liked that whole different water element. And I did a lot of water work and a lot of scuba work, film wise. And I think that's where that might have been the motivation for it. I was looking at someone talking to me the other day. It's like, I've always loved being under the water, not on top of the water, under the water, and so I think that's why that movie appealed to me so much, is because it was, I can't recall anybody really going there film wise before that.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm a big fan of the Creature too, but I'm also a big fan of the Creature from the Monster Squad too, man.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, I'll go with you. And Monster Squad was a fun movie. But yeah, but the original, you can't beat the original, man. Creature from the Black Lagoon that's my default. When everybody asks, including yourself, hey, what's your all-time favorite horror movie? That is the one I go to.
That's good, because I love how they filmed horror in black and white. It was like more realistic, and it was like a little bit more scarier, and it had more like, shadows in it, how the cinematographers would shoot it just to make it like real freaky.
Yeah, I mean, I don't call myself a filmmaker by any stretch of the imagination, but I do a lot of photography. And I've actually taken some of my beautiful color photographs that are worthy of the wall, so to speak, and I've put them into the black and white formats because the shadows play just brilliantly, and it's, because back in the day when I was first getting photography, I mean, I'd sit in a dark room and play with black and white just to learn how to burn in certain elements of a photo and how to chase it, and give it a little extra time in the solution to cook it in and pull it out and things like that. So I'm a big fan of black and white. I'm a big fan of practical movie making.
Yeah, practical movie making's where it's at. I mean, I grew up in the 80s before, CGI, and I just love, watching the practical filmmaking, how, the actors and stuntmen put their, heart and soul and their blood, sweat, and tears into it, how to prepare a certain scene to do it. It seems more real-like than watching CGI. CGI kind of like does a lot of covering. I rather see like a fight scene or a stunt scene or a kill scene in horror that's just practical, not CGI.
Yeah, and I agree with you in some elements. I mean, I was fortunate enough in my career that I was in that era where we went from practical to CGI, and everybody was freaking on it for the first few years, and I didn't have that. I was the exact opposite. I'm like, no, it's going to blow the doors wide open, which it did, because it allowed us to do wire work and ratchets and put people on cables and do stuff that we'd never been able to do before, because it was so easy for post-production to paint out the cables or the spectrum, and then we didn't have to worry about blacking out 1/16 of an inch cables and lighting it and shooting around it and hiding it and all this stuff. You're like, nope, don't worry about it. Just paint it green. It's easier, and they could take it out in post, and it just blew the doors off. And that's why we could get away with bigger and better and crazier stunts than ever before.
Yeah, another film I liked that did practical stunts was the Jurassic Park movies. I like that. There wasn't really that much CGI in the early ones. It was mostly all practical.
Yeah, it was a mix, because like when I was on The Lost World, here we are on the biggest CGI film of the time, right? Mm-hmm. And we shot a bunch of practical stuff. I mean, those big lizards were nothing but backhoes with lizard skin. I mean, they were just nasty things to be around. They're all hydraulic, all computered, manually controlled, and but at the same time, there was plenty of times when those beasts were CG and they looked really well, and they looked. I mean, it was neat. I enjoyed that experience.
So, you did Jurassic Park 2, so you did some of the stunts and all that. So, what was it like to get bit by some of the animatronic dinosaurs?
Well, I mean, a lot of people know this and some don't, but I was the guy who got ripped out of the Jeep and eviscerated by the two dinosaurs. And that was a ride and a half. I mean, big stunt, great, you know, it's another iconic scene, right? I've had a couple of those, and there was another one. And so, you know, that was, they strapped you up, just imagine just getting strapped to a backhoe and getting flung around, because that was what it was. I was strapped in, hardwired, and they just kicked the snot out of me for about a minute and yelled cut. And by the time I got out of my harness, walked over to Video Village, Spielberg already had it cut. He had all that. Yeah, it was that good and that fast. He goes, "Lee, come over here." I'm like, "Yes, sir." So I go over there, and he goes, "Look at this." And he had already, he didn't have the CGI part of it, but he had enough put together where it goes, "Yeah, this is what it's going to kind of look like." And I was like, 3 minutes maybe for him to put that together while I'm getting out of my harness to go take a look at it. It was incredible. Great experience.
So, what's one fact about Lee that no one doesn't know about you?
I don't know. I mean, for as much as I put out there publicly, I'm very private. You know, I love when I'm not doing the Ghostface stuff and the cons and stuff like that, and when I'm not doing that promotion, I'm usually, you know, sitting on a bass boat someplace, hanging out, catching fish, being quiet and by myself and enjoying that peace. It's a real nice yin and yang balance to the crazy side of Ghostface and cons and all that, which I totally enjoy. But every once in a while, after about 2 or 3 months of hard charging, you know, and then doing podcasts and interviews and all this craziness and a lot of fun, it's like, all right, I need to go get, you know, grounded again and hang out and be quiet for a while.
So, what was the biggest bass you ever caught?
My personal best on bass fishing right now is just over 6 by a 6.5, which is a healthy fish. You know, but I'm getting all wound up. I want to go catch double digits. I want to bust that 10-pound club, and so that'll be my new pursuit on the fishing front.
Oh, if you do that, you definitely got to take a picture of it and post it on your Instagram.
Yeah, I will. I'll brag about that one. When, you know, that's there's been plenty of people that have caught 10+ pound bass, but that's still rare territory. They're hard to find.
Yeah, I like fishing too. I used to go fishing a lot with my dad. It's so calming and relaxing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I grew up out in the country, so that's what I would do is we'd go fishing on the weekends and camp and fish and hang out. So it takes me back to those chapters in life. So I've always fished.
Oh, hey, there's nothing wrong with fishing at all. I love to go rainbow trout fishing. So.
Yeah, me too. When I was in Southern California a lot, we would hit the Sierras and go hit the rainbows or the browns or the cutthroats. Occasionally, I got up in some big high country. We go out to golden, which is pretty rare fish, and we'd get on them and have a pretty good time with them.
So, what's some of your latest projects? Are you doing any latest projects that are coming up?
So I just finished up a quick little acting role on a little small independent horror movie called Night Butcher. And I had met them through some mutual friends out at Green Bayou and out there in Ontario, California, which was a great con, right? You know, home run, guys crushed it, had a great time out there. So I met these guys and we were talking shop. And long story short, they introduced me to the director and the producer on it that did the first one. And I love independent movies. You know, yeah, you don't have the big budgets and all that stuff, but I like the spirit of making it independent. It kind of takes me back to film school a little bit, where, you know, you have no budget and you're going to go make a movie and you do a lot of guerrilla shoot and then you shoot one camera and all this other stuff. And, you know, it was a lot of fun. So I appreciate indie filmmaking. I like it. And so they made a small independent, like a credit card type movie, got picked up by Amazon, did great, made enough money to do Night Butcher 2, and they had me come in and do a quick little guest spot on that. And it's about to come out. I think it's going to drop in October, which is not too far away. And hopefully that one will be a success. And because if it hits again, then maybe I could go back and do some more work on that one in Night Butcher 3. We'll see. So it was fun to get out there and do that and be in front of the camera. And I just enjoyed that experience because I hadn't been in front of the camera since, 2015 or something like that. And it was fun to get out there and have a couple of lines and just laugh a little bit and have some good times and, bang out a couple of scenes. It was a super fun experience. And it was just, like I said, it was one of those things where it kind of took me back to film school, guerrilla filmmaking days. It was a lot of fun. So I really enjoyed the experience.
So, do you think independent horror films right now are on fire right now and popular because you see a lot of them going up to the big screens now?
Well, yeah, I mean, I absolutely do. I think, things are going to be a little bit difficult here for the next few months because of, some pending strikes within the industry. But, we get past that little bump in the road and it'll be fired up again. I like independent films. I think, the one thing that back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, we didn't have the capability of shooting a feature-length film on your cell phone, right?
Yeah.
You could literally shoot. You get together with your buddies, and now all of a sudden you're shooting 6 cameras, right? And everybody's got their cell phones out, and you can actually shoot these things in very high quality. People get all wound up about the 4K, 8K, and all this stuff. Like, last time I checked, most of the stuff gets broadcasted about 1080 high def, and that's all you're going to get, And so you go out and make yourself a cool little movie on your cell phone and put it out there to social media. And, we couldn't do that 10, 15 years ago. Didn't happen. The format wasn't there. That wasn't available yet. So there's no better time, in my opinion, to go out and make movies than right now. I mean, look at social media. Look at what you and I are doing right now.
Exactly. So where can everybody find you on social media if they want to follow you?
So pretty much find me on Instagram. That's about the only outlet I use. And the Lee Waddell. So it's _Lee_Waddell. That is, then you'll see. And then also I have original Ghostface. So I have 2 accounts. One's a backup in case one gets nuked or whatever. And that's the best way to follow me because everybody's on Instagram. Twitter is not and I'm not bashing any social media platform. It's just kind of like Facebook is keeping up with grandkids, right? Instagram is the most user-friendly, quick, Twitter is more of a thread than an Instagram platform. And then TikTok, I got plenty of things that go past 30 seconds, so I really don't want to play more than that environment. I've kind of self-imposed myself just to come over here to Instagram and hang out and have a good time with that. And that's fine. So that's the best way to find me. And on that, that gives me the website. My website and Instagram has all my upcoming cons and what's going on in my world. So that's the best way to tag me. And I'm very interactive on that. I mean, a lot of times when people reach out on my Instagram account, they get me, right? And that keeps me in contact with the Scream Nation. And I like that, And so I try to do my own mail, so to speak.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with me and my audience tonight.
Well, thanks for having me, man. I'm glad we could get one put together quick. Your audience doesn't realize what it takes sometimes to pull these great little podcasts off. And, you kind of hit me. I'm like, hey, let's just bang it out. And it only took us, a week? That's unheard of in my world. I mean, usually I have to go out 60 days to get something put on the calendar to get a podcast or an interview or something like that lined up.
Hey, I've been there, done that. I've had some guests on here that it took months and weeks. Because most of the people I interview on my podcast are all indie filmmakers and indie artists. And I cover a lot of film festivals too, which is fun. And I just have fun interviewing indie filmmakers and artists.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and as you know, those, and yourself included, myself included, there's not only are we doing what we do, me and the Instagram and Ghostface and cons and then making, still getting in front of camera now and then, and then all those guys are busy trying to make movies or write movies or, they're in post-production and, there's a lot of moving parts to making movies and being in social media in general. I mean, look at your great little podcast. Look how much energy that takes, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's people that think we come in here and we tap for 20, 30, 40 minutes. No, that's not, that's what they see. Now, that doesn't count for the other 6 hours of post-production that you got to put into it. So
Exactly. But like I said, thank you so much. I had a blast.
Oh, man, you're so welcome. I love doing podcasts and talking about this because I'm truly passionate about it. And I tell a lot of people, like, I love what I do for Scream Nation, Wes Craven, and all that great stuff. And it's super fun. I'm super blessed to do it. But I don't take it for granted. And I actually, this is why, for a lack of a better way, this is my job, right? And I don't want to let those fans down. I don't want to let Wes down. I don't want to let, all those people. And not because they necessarily they count on me, but right now I'm the guy who's carrying that torch, and I love that, and I respect it, right? And I respect those fans, and I want to keep that going. So, as much as I love it and laugh about it and goofball through it, I take it very seriously. If that makes sense.
All right. And everybody, thank you for listening to Horror Pop After Midnight.